Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the Lizardmen. They're going to be taking on the Dark Elves. This is actually a replay submitted by Falcon after I had made the comment the other day in one of the comments section of my videos, replying to one of y'all, saying that the Lizardmen don't really have a prayer in a melee rush versus the Dark Elves, so Falcon went out and fought this battle and sent it to me as a melee rush versus the Dark Elves using the Lizardmen. So let's go ahead and take a look. He's got a light Slon here. No Nets of Amantok, but he does have Foz Protection and Barona's Time Warp. This particular spell going to be very important here. Blood Statue of Spite, Aura of Pretzels, Shield Healed Ones, and Banishment. I know it's actually Aura of Quetzal, but I mean, it's a Slon. I can't not call it the Aura of Pretzels, right? Like, I just imagine all these pretzels, like, floating around him, deflecting shots and melee attacks and everything. But anyway, we've got some Cold One Spear Riders, two groups of them in a defensive position, three Temple Guards for the front line, a couple of Saurus Scar Vets, and an Ancient Stegodon. So a very small kind of rush army. It looks like over here in the forest we do have a couple of Feral Cold Ones hidden as well. Very nice pick. For the Dark Elves, we've got Marathi up in the air. Looks like she's got Melkos, Soul Blight, Soul Stealer, and Power of Darkness. We've got three Dark Shards, one of which is the regiment-renowned Bolt Fiends. Got a couple of Harganeth Executioners, front line of Dread Spears, including the Hellebronai, and two units of Cold One Knights. So without further ado, let's get the battle underway. Looks like we've also got these Slaanesh Harvesters. Nope, just regular old Doomfire Warlocks in the back. So you can see the melee rush going forward here. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, I do have some criticisms of this Dark Elf build. We'll go through that in kind of the post-game, but so far, looks like the Stegodon going to be pushing forward. This is potentially a little bit dangerous here, of course, due to the overwhelming fire from the Dark Shards. And yeah, this Stegodon's going to start to get pin-cushioned real quick, which is unfortunate, but the Temple Guard following up here, yeah, man, that Stegodon's taking a lot of damage, but you can see that Light Slon going to go ahead and drop this Barona's Time Warp. So look at these Temple Guard, up to 58 melee attack, just absolutely cleaning the clock of these Dark Elf infantry here. This is a huge mistake by the Dark Elf player, blobbing in these Cold One Knights against the Temple Guards here. Looks like he is actually repathing them over on the Ancient Stegodon, which is of course a great target. A nice banishment going down in the back line there. And yeah, you can see the Harganeth Executioners and the Hellebronai in the front line just getting munched on. And despite the Stegodon actually going down, the terror does take effect there. So yeah, these Cold One Knights, though, they're fighting against Temple Guard right now. They really need to pull back and away from this pocket here. Try and resecure. You can see the Feral Cold Ones being very cost-effective getting in the back line here. They're going to tie up these remaining Dark Elf Skirmishers here, and they will be able to you know, tie things down definitely, and at least prevent them from firing. I mean, they even still will do some damage, but you can see a little bit late here. These Doomfire Warlocks definitely were needed earlier on in the battle, but now coming forward to try and deal with those Feral Cold Ones, they probably will be able to. All things considered, balance power still pretty even at this point, but looks like a Soul Blight, yep, going down there. More Barona's Time Warps being dropped, and you can see, though, that the in the front line, the Dark Elves just kind of got mashed a little bit. I mean, they did manage to take out that Ancient Stegodon, which is about 2,000 points, but the Light Slon with the buffs, Barona's Time Warp in particular, combined with the Temple Guard, means that they're able to do very well. You can see them even trading evenly with the unit of Harganeth Executioners over here because of the buffs, which is quite impressive, all things considered. And yeah, at this point, the balance power is starting to tip towards the Lizardmen. So we'll grab some more cinematics as the Doomfire Warlocks try and finish off the Clever Girls, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's quite going to be enough. It looks like they do rout off those Feral Cold Ones, but rallying Dark Elves here, trying to take out the Cold One Spear Riders, but at this point all the tools that were able to take out the Temple Guard are pretty much gone. And not to mention these Saurus Scar Vets, we've got two of them on Cold Ones here, teaching Marathi a lesson. Here comes the Light Slon too, chasing her off. So yeah, looks like the Dread Spears and Harganeth Executioner is going to try and stay engaged here. A little bit of a miss micro here, having these Dark Shards tied up in this melee, though. Of course, I mean, the Feral Cold Ones threatening the back line, still being very cost-effective, chasing down some regrouped Dark Shards there. And yeah, Does look like it's going to be a victory for the Lizardmen. No surprises there, as this battle was meant to illustrate this melee rush build, and certainly I do think that there's some merit here. I don't think that this Dark Elf build was the best, and I'll talk a little bit more about what I would change at the end screen. But yeah, I definitely see the merit of what Falcon was going for here. Barona's Time Warp is a spell that I have known is good for a long time, but I haven't really actually used it that much. Particularly, I think, with both the Lizardmen and the Tomb Kings, it could potentially be an incredibly useful spell. Both of those factions tend to have relatively low melee attack, and I believe it's one of the only melee attack buffs available. I believe it's the only one for the Tomb Kings. The Lizardmen have a handful of other melee attack buffs, but in general, that's one of the few that they have access to, and it is a very powerful one, so I definitely see what Falcon was going for there. Managed to roll over that Dark Elf player. Yeah, the Feral Cold Ones being very cost-effective in the backline, 62 and 66 for a unit that's only 450 points, chewing on some, 600-plus point skirmishers, very cost-effective. The Cold One Spear Riders as well, of course, getting lots of kills, sweeping up the side there, and the Ancient Stegodon, being the distraction and Carnifex that it was, ended up just getting mowed down, but it ended up being alright. 85 kills on the Light Slan, that's pretty solid from the banishments there. And yeah, overall worked out quite well. The Temple Guard did well in the front line, 76, 63, and 77. For the Dark Elves, you can see the Dread Spears really just got owned on, and the Hargoneth Executioner is one unit able to perform pretty well. That was basically the only unit on the entire army for the Dark Elves that performed. So definitely I would fine-tune this army a little bit, and my main criticisms with it are these Hargoneth Executioners. I really don't see these guys with a huge place in this matchup. If we go ahead and have a look here, oops, that's not the right one. And switch on over to the Dark Elves. So Morathi, up in the air, pretty solid pick. I would fine-tune her spell selection a little bit and say, especially with all the armor piercing the Dark Elves have access to, unless you're going specifically for an armor sundering build, which I would recommend you go a little bit of a different route. I'm going to go ahead and cut Soul Blight, Doom and Darkness, as well as Melkos, and we're just going to bring Power of Darkness and Soul Stealer to try and get as much self-healing as possible from Wrathy, and direct magic damage, of course, very powerful as well. Heartrender and Dark Sword can be decent, and we'll bring the Wand as well, just for fun. And yeah, the Hargoneth Executioners are definitely one that I would leave at home. I would trade them for either Sisters of Slaughter, because they're slightly cheaper, they have a missile block chance, and they have significantly better melee defense. Just way, way better melee defense. These guys are up to 60 melee defense, which means they'll do well even when those Temple Guard are juiced up with the Barona's Time Warp. They still have the melee defense to kind of hang around. These guys just generally trade very good against most Lizardmen infantry, from what I've found. They are somewhat vulnerable to skink skirmishers, but as long as you have some screening forces, like Dread Spear is definitely a good idea, and we'll also grab the Hellebroni, pretty solid there. I'm also not a fan of the Bolt Fiends at all, let alone in this matchup. I think they're way too expensive for what you get out of them. Even the Dark Shards with shields can be a bit expensive at times, and just in general, I think you want to go with the higher volume of fire, so rather than bringing the 3 shielded Dark Shards, including the Bolt Fiends, we're going to bring 5 non-shielded Dark Shards, just for a greater volume of fire. And, yeah, these guys are a bit cheaper and easier to be cost-effective as well. From here, we definitely want some calves, so a couple Cold One Knights is a solid choice, and we don't quite have enough for that Doomfire Warlock, so maybe we just want to grab a couple Dark Riders with shields to maybe run down skinks. So yeah, this would just be kind of fine-tuning that Dark Elf build a little bit. Again, I don't know that this would necessarily be perfect. There's a lot of different ways the Dark Elves can go in this particular matchup, but I think that the Hargoneth Executioners were definitely a mistake. Again, they don't really have a good place. The only unit they're really meant to take down is Temple Guard, and you have some other tools that can do that. So I wouldn't necessarily think that you need to bring them. Of course, you could upgrade to the Blackguard of Nagrand, which of course with their anti-large armor piercing going to be very good against all the dinos, and they do have quite a bit better combat stats than Temple Guard as well, I believe. Let's go ahead and just check that. So we've got the Blackguard unit card up, and let's go ahead and just compare directly to Temple Guard. So yeah, they do have just better combat stats all around than Temple Guard, and better weapon strength, better charge bonus. Not that that really matters that much, but they are actually immune to psychology. Granted, they are 100 points more expensive, but for only 100 points more expensive, they are a significantly better halberd unit. So, I mean, of course, you could always find the funds to trade these Sisters of Slaughter out. Like, maybe you come in here, cut the wand, and that will not quite give us enough. We'll need to maybe find some more. Maybe let's go ahead and remove Marathi's melee focus. So we're going to take off Deadly Onslaught and Heartrender and Dark Sword, since it's a melee conditional recharge, just to make her a bit cheaper, and that would give us the funds we need to upgrade these two Sisters of Slaughter to the Blackguard of Naggarond. Still have some funds left over, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Again, I see what Falcon was going for there. I don't necessarily think that that was the best Dark Elf build, but certainly that Barona's Time Warp, especially with Temple Guard, does bear looking at a little bit further, so I might have to have a look at that myself, and even using Barona's Time Warp with the Tomb Kings as well, I think might be potentially pretty good. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to try and do some experimentation, see what happens, but overall, very fun battle. Thanks for Falcon sending that one in. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.